mediator Qatar has revealed that Israel and Hamas are now at the closest point yet to a ceasefire and a possible hostage release deal. Reports indicate that Hamas has accepted a draft agreement for a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip and the release for dozens of hostages. Officials have expressed mounting optimism that a deal could be reached ahead of the 20th of January swearing-in of President-elect Donald Trump, whose Middle East envoy has joined the negotiations. But in Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, faces an uphill task as there are some elements in the Israeli far right who say, and in fact the police minister said that he's going to quit the Netanyahu government if he agrees to a Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal. Remember, none of this is very easy politically, besides, of course, having long-term impact and ramifications. Of course, President Biden wants to get this going as probably his parting legacy as he demits office after a single term. But for Israel and for the entire Middle East, this is not such a simple open and shut case. Let's quickly now play out this report that tells you the story in greater detail.
Almost a year and a half later, the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas may finally see the light of the day.
There is a distinct possibility that we can get this deal done this week before President Biden leaves office. But as you say, we've been here before, we've been close before, and haven't gotten across the finish line, so I can't make any promises or predictions.
As per the draft proposal, both sides agreed Hamas would release 3 hostages on the first day of the agreement, after which Israel would begin withdrawing the troops from the populated areas. 7 days later, Hamas would release 4 additional hostages, and Israel would allow displaced people in the south to return to the north, but only on foot via the coastal road. Cars, animal-drawn carts, and trucks would be permitted to cross through a passage adjacent to Saleh Adin Road, monitored by an X-ray machine operated by a Qatari Egyptian technical security team. The agreement includes provisions for Israeli forces to remain in the Philadelphia corridor and maintain an 800-meter buffer zone along with eastern and northern borders during the first phase, which will last 42 days. Israel also agreed to release 1,000 Palestinian prisoners, including 190 who have been serving sentences of 15 years or more. In exchange, Hamas will release 34 hostages. Negotiations for the second and third phase of the agreement would begin on the 16th day of the ceasefire.
هذه مفاوضات المسألة ما زالت في حالة سيولة ولكننا يعني متفائلون بشكل خاص.
The new impetus comes after threats by US President-elect Donald J. Trump that hell will break loose if no deal is reached by the time he's inaugurated on January 20th.
If those hostages aren't back, I don't want to hurt your negotiation. If they're not back by the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East. And it will not be good for Hamas, and it will not be good, frankly, for anyone. All hell will break out. I don't have to say anymore, but that's what it is.
The fresh round of talks has raised the hopes of families of hostages as well as residents of Gaza who have been under intense aerial bombardment. While the ceasefire talks are progressing, intense protests continue in Israel, demanding Prime Minister Netanyahu to accept the proposal. But Netanyahu is also facing backlash from his right-wing colleagues in the government.
העסקה המתרקמת היא עסקת כניעה לחמאס. אני קורא לחברי, השר בצלאל סמוטריץ', לחבור אליי וביחד לשתף פעולה נגד העסקה המתרקמת. לעוצמה יהודית אין את הכוח למנוע את העסקה לבד. אבל ביחד אנחנו יכולים ללכת לראש הממשלה ולהודיע לו שאם הוא מעביר את העסקה, אנחנו פורשים מהממשלה.
The coming hours and days will be very crucial to determine whether these talks will yield any progress or the cycle of violence will continue. But all this while, the eyes will be on the negotiators to see whether diplomacy can triumph over this conflict. In Delhi, Mohammad Ghazali for NDTV.
Okay, this really tells you the story in terms of what all has happened and what all is on the table. But the question that we asked today, when the ceasefire deal is very near, that will the two sides actually reach a lasting truce deal? One is to be able to get a ceasefire to ensure that the hostages come back. Second is, what are the prospects of it actually lasting? The second key question that we are asking is that will Israel, that's the first one, which is that whether there'll be a lasting truce deal or not. And the second question that we are asking is that will Israel and Hamas put aside their differences? Can they try and bury some of their differences to try and identify areas of some common ground? And the third key question we are asking is, could ceasefire bring down Netanyahu's government? As I said, there are elements within his government who are not in favor of this, and will that impact his political future? The other key question is, will the ceasefire deal save Biden's legacy? He's a one-term president. He's been term lame duck for the last 6 months. Will this really be his lasting legacy? And lastly, we are asking, did Trump's warning drive the progress in these talks? These talks are not new. They've been going on for a while. But what did it need that fresh push from Donald Trump, who takes office next week? Let's put that now across to the two guests joining me today, which is Neice from Turkey and Professor Awad, who's a Syrian, joining me from New Delhi. Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me. And Neice, let me start with you in terms of the prospect of a ceasefire deal. It's on the table. Talks have progressed. Both sides, so several stakeholders seem to have expressed optimism. How do you read it right now, the situation?
Thank you very much for having me. The deal at this stage seems imminent, and I think that Hamas has already accepted it. If you see the entire process of deal, Hamas has put two primary conditions to accept the deal. Number one, that Israel should not be in position to resume the fight again. Israel should not be in position to bomb again. And the second is that the Israeli withdrawal from Gaza should be assured. In this deal, which is coming now, the withdrawal of Israeli armies from Gaza has been assured in 3 stages, which means that at the first stage, Israel will take its military from a specific zone, and the second stage and the third stage. And finally, the Israeli forces will be outside of Gaza and will be stationed near Israeli and Gaza borders. So after having these two conditions, I think that Hamas were interested to accept the deal. However, you know that the deal has come at a very crucial time where Hamas have lost so much influence and human resources as well. So I think that Hamas would take a long time to resume or to violate this deal. So I hope that this deal is going to stay for some long time, as the two sides need to rebuild themselves, and especially Gaza would need huge funding, reconstruction, rebuilding process. So the Hamas Gaza side has more incentives and more reasons to stay within the deal.
Okay, let's put that across now to Dr. Awad as well. That how do you see the situation and the prospect of the ceasefire deal going through, being accepted by both sides?
Thank you, Gaurie. I think the deal will be signed before the Friday, if not on Friday itself. And I think both the sides have received the draft of the deal and accepted in terms of the negotiation. Remember, there is also 2 convoys, one envoy from the American administration, currently Biden, and the second one, Steve Bitcoin, is the second. He is from Trump, for the first time that the American coming president sent an envoy to look into the discussion and what's going on to reach an agreement. And I think that agreement has to happen because they have already accepted the 42 days of the truce and the exchange of the prisoners. And I think Hamas also agreed to the release of 33, not 34, because one of them is already been released by Israelis. So 33 of the prisoners will be released. Those are alive. And the second stage, it will be the remaining hostages, but that only on the 16th day of the deal. So therefore, let's see, it can go through. And I think the hopes are on the table because Trump had a deal, in fact, with Netanyahu before the election, that before he takes office, he wanted this deal to be done. Biden wanted to have his legacy back before he left office, that he was the one who negotiated this deal and he brought the ceasefire into action and into effect. But I feel that the overall situation that the Palestinians are still dying, and more than 32 people have been killed today. So we have 150,000 Palestinians killed and injured for the last 14 months. And still, till the deal is signed, there will be more. But the best part of this deal is that there is no mention of Philadelphia crossing, which is the south of Gaza, between Gaza and Egypt. And if that is not in the agreement, I think Israel is going to stay for long on that. And the ramification of such agreement has to have an impact. And we should not see this signing of this agreement, Gaurie, as in isolation what's happening in the region, whether in Syria, whether in Lebanon, whether it is in Iraq or Iran.
Okay. Mr. Ras, then let me ask you this, that in terms of, one is the immediate fact that the hostages that have been with Hamas since 7th of October will return. But what about the future? What about long-term prospects of this deal surviving, given the uncertainty in the region?
With an unresolved Arab-Israeli conflict and Israeli occupation of Palestinian lands and the continued movement of settlers across the Palestinian land has made the region ever volatile. And I think that the possibility of disruptive violence and reaction from Hamas and other organizations will remain always there. And at the same time...
Okay, I'm sorry, I'll have to butt in there, sir. I'll have to butt in there because to be fair, there is a representative from Turkey, there is a representative from Syria, but the fact is this is also a conflict, an issue that involves Israel. Israel is not on the panel, but I'm not going to let you make statements like there will be repercussions from Hamas going forward as well. Hamas is a terrorist organization. What it did on the 7th of October is the most heinous attack that could have happened. What has unleashed since then, one can have a different discussion about it. The amount of repercussion that has happened from Israel, that can be a different debate. But what happened on 7th of October 2023 is not up for debate. So as I said, because there is no Israel on the panel, in the spirit of fairness and because there are two sides to this discussion, I will urge you to not make comments about Hamas and whether it should exercise any prospect of retaliation in the future against Israel. Let's talk about the prospect of trying to get peace after a possible ceasefire going forward. Yes, Mr. Anas, I'm going to give you airtime, but let's restrict our remarks to what I'm discussing.
I am not representative of any government in Turkey or anywhere. So I express my own opinion. And as I said that the issue is not Hamas or issue is not even Israel. The problem is that there is a Palestinian state which has been approved by the United Nations Security Council. There is a border, there is a territory. And what I am trying to say is that this territory which has been given to Palestine to create a Palestinian state has been occupied by Israel for so many long years.
Okay.
And my point is that if that land is not given, and specifically I would like to mention about President Trump, who has been more than interested in this deal. Why?
Yes.
Because he has an idea of the Abraham Accord.
Yes, he did. He started this. Absolutely.
Yes.
Hold your thought there. I want to get in Dr. Awad as well, because he's been wanting to come in on this as well. Yes, Dr. Awad.
Well, I think, as we say, if you don't find a solution for the Palestinian cause, the continuous perpetual provocation for permanent wars in the West Asia and the Middle East will continue. Therefore, I think this truce has to have an established sort of an agreement for the future settlement of the Palestinian issue. But I think what we are going to witness here, Gaurie, is a regional war in the region. And I don't see the development of this ceasefire is seriously going to last for long, because this is a truce. It's not a permanent ceasefire between the two sides. And maybe the Netanyahu government is agreeing he will be losing Ben Gvir, he will resign for sure, but I'm sure he will survive, because there is no question that any Israeli government at this stage of winning in all the fronts will be willing to have any kind of a compromise. So anybody wanted to reach an agreement with Israel, even the United States is saying it very clearly, that it has to be at the dictation of what Israelis' terms and conditions for reaching such an agreement. What I'm witnessing here is only because of the humanitarian loss of the Palestinians. There may be a pressure on the new American administration that should be put to an end to this catastrophe in Palestine.
All right, we leave it there, gentlemen. Thanks much for speaking to me on this story. We are going to revisit this given the fact that it's likely to impact the entire region. All right, on that note, we slip into a very short break. We come back with lots more stories on the other side. Stay with us.
If you're homeless, you're never safe.
Tonight, too many young people like Kira will be at risk right here on our streets. But you could help a young person find safety and begin a new future by sponsoring a room at Centrepoint.
It's more than a room. You get real support and training to help you get your life back on track.
Please search Centrepoint Room online today or call 0808 281 8001 and be the turning point for a young person like Kira. Thank you.
Visit bingoaliens.com/bingo for a cosmic range of bingo games, taking bingo to another dimension at bingoaliens.com/bingo.
Quidco gives you cashback every time you shop on over 5,000 brands. It always pays to Quidco. Sign up and start saving today. Visit quidco.com.
This baby bear is terrified. Torn from her mother's paws at a tender age. They will force her to live alone in a tiny, filthy cage, like so many bears driven mad by loneliness, rubbing their wounds raw against the bars, suffering cruelly day after day, year after year, just for people's entertainment. Four Paws found little Potap crammed into a tiny, squalid cage. He'd been there for almost 9 years, lonely and isolated. There are so many more young bears who need your help. Please call 0800 038 0455 or text CUB3 to 78866 and give £2 a month to help rescue them. Every month, your £2 could help us free more bears, help give bears the veterinary care they need, and help them live happy, healthy lives in the freedom of our natural sanctuaries. Call 0800 038 0455 or text CUB3 to 78866 and give £2 a month and help Four Paws free bears from agonizing torture. Please, don't leave these bears to suffer for a single day more.
Hello. How was Iceland? It was good, I guess. Had a few issues here and there. Didn't you check Brighton? No, the sun wasn't bright at all. Iceland, you know.
Wait, you don't know Brighton?
They must have missed out on some seamless visa assistance.
Plus extra baggage allowance and 24/7 customer support.
I mean, there's a reason they're rated excellent on Trustpilot.
Brighton Travel, making travel brighter.
Welcome back. You're watching India Global. We turn our attention to the other big story we are tracking. Social media giant Meta is set to get a summon from the Parliamentary Standing Committee over its boss Mark Zuckerberg's remark on the 2024 general election in India. Nishikant Dupe, a member of Parliament from BJP and chairman of the House panel on communication and IT, said Meta would be summoned on grounds of spreading misinformation. He went on to say, my committee will call Meta for this misinformation. Any false information in a democratic country tarnishes its image, and the institution will have to apologize to the Indian Parliament and its people for this mistake. In a podcast on 10th of January, the 40-year-old Facebook co-founder had said the COVID pandemic led to an erosion of trust in incumbent governments around the world. He incorrectly cited India's example in this connection. Earlier, IT and Broadcasting Minister Ashwini Vaishnav had termed Zuckerberg's statement as being completely wrong. Turning our attention now to more news coming in from Pakistan, where in a bid to ease the ongoing political tension, Pakistan's government and the opposition party, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, have agreed to hold their third round of talks this Thursday. This was confirmed in an official statement released earlier today. According to the National Assembly Secretariat, the session will be led by National Assembly Speaker Ayaz Sadiq and is scheduled to begin at the Parliament House. Pakistan has been in the grip of a political turmoil since the general election on 8th of February last year, with PTI rejecting the results and staging multiple protests over alleged electoral fraud, along with prolonged detention of their leader, Imran Khan. Pakistan has condemned what it has called racist and Islamophobic rhetoric in the UK, criticising attempts to blame the entire British Pakistani community for the actions of a few individuals involved in past grooming or rape scandals. In its statement, Pakistan urged the UK to avoid scapegoating an entire community, warning that such narratives could harm the long-standing relationship between the UK and Pakistan. As both nations confront these sensitive issues, Pakistan calls for a more balanced and fair approach to an issue that has gripped the UK Parliament. All right, the cryogenic engine specialist Dr. V. Narayanan has helped in the human rating of the launch vehicle Mark III, or the Bahubali rocket, so that it is ready to fly Indian astronauts or Gaganyatris, as India calls them, on New Delhi's human space flight, the Gaganyaan mission. Listen in as he talks to NDTV science editor Pallava Bakla.
I have with me Dr. V. Narayanan. He's the director of the Liquid Propulsion Systems Center of the Indian Space Research Organization and somebody who helped master this complex technology. Why is it so difficult to master this technology?
See, we use chemical propulsion systems in the launch vehicles. Among chemical propulsion system, the cryogenic propulsion system, wherein we use extreme low temperature liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen as the propellant combination, gives the maximum performance.
Now, but why there's so many pipes? It is looking so complicated. What is flowing? You have to put liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen. It will burn. What is there?
It is not that easy. See, basically, when you take a liquid cryogenic, I mean, when you take
hydrogen,
when you take a cryogenic rocket engine, it is so complex due to multiple reasons. Number one, the propellant is at extreme low temperature. Hydrogen is at minus 253 degrees centigrade. You know, water will freeze at 0 degree Celsius, and from that 253 we have to go down to liquefy liquid hydrogen. And oxygen is also at extremely low temperature. So producing such a low temperature propellant and maintaining at that temperature itself is a complex problem.
So are we in readiness of Gaganyaan?
No, if you ask this one, say the Gaganyaan development has got multiple things. One is human rating of the vehicle. In my opinion, human rating of the vehicle is almost completed. Then we are having orbital module system development. That is a new development that is going on. Then we are having crew escape system development. That development, you all aware, just last year we had a successful demonstration and multiple demonstrations we have to do. That one of the tests we have done and multiple demonstrations we have to carry out. Then to keep the crew safe, we are having a system called environmental control and safety system. Basically, we have to maintain the oxygen content and remove the CO2 content, remove the carbon dioxide. We have to maintain the required temperature, relative humidity, and all the things we have to do. Those development, that is also a new development. All the developments are going on. As on date, as ISRO chairman, Mr. Somanath ji, have declared, we are ready for the first G1 mission, wherein we are going to fly the rocket without the actual crew. For that we are ready. Remaining, all the developments are going on. We have to do multiple tests. In fact, we have declared this year is the Gaganyaan testing year, and we are going to do the test, and we are getting ready for the actual mission.
So, from the cryogenic engine, which we mastered with great difficulty thanks to you, to now ready to fly Gaganyaan with Indian astronauts, India is thankful to you. Thanks a lot, Dr. Narayanan.
All right, we slip into a very short break. We come back on the other side with TikTok and whether it's actually going to be bought by Elon Musk in the US or not. We come back and talk more. Stay with us.
We all know animals have feelings. They depend on kindness, just like you and me. So imagine how they feel when they're beaten, starved, and unloved. Every minute, the RSPCA is called on to save animals in physical agony and mental torment. It's unbearable to see the pain in their eyes. We refuse to give up on them, but to rescue them from a life of fear, we urgently need animal lovers like you to donate today. Please call 0800 121 4260 or text KIND to 84903 to give £2 a month to the RSPCA. Your gift will help fund more life-saving rescues, more emergency treatment, and more gentle rehabilitation. Every month, you'll be helping to keep animals free from pain and sadness, so they can find the comfort and joy they deserve. Right now, across the country, thousands are suffering deliberate harm. But together, we can show animals what kindness feels like. Together, we can rescue them. So please, call 0800 121 4260, text KIND to 84903, or visit our website to start your monthly donation today. Thank you.
Family life. It's made of ups and downs, and those little moments. But should the unthinkable happen to you? Life insurance from Legal & General can help look after monthly bills, the roof over their heads, childcare costs, and most importantly, your family. Because no one protects more families in the UK than us. Premiums start from £5 a month and they never rise. Plus there's a £120 gift card after you apply. Legal & General. Ensure life goes on.
This is an important message for people living with diabetes from people living with diabetes.
When I was experiencing the symptoms of diabetes, I didn't know what was going on.
You go on the internet and it's full of horror stories.
I didn't understand about carbs, I didn't understand about blood glucose levels.
That's why the support I get as a Diabetes UK member is so important.
You can become a Diabetes UK member for just £3 a month. When you do, you'll receive a practical guide specific to your type of diabetes and a copy of Balance magazine 4 times a year. Plus, you'll help support research that could lead to better treatments for all types of diabetes.
As members, we're all working it out together.
Call 0800 144 5410 or go online to become a Diabetes UK member for just £3 a month. Join us now, because membership can help you learn to live better with diabetes.
Welcome back. This is India Global. We now turn our attention to the big story coming in from the US with less than a week to go before a possible social media TikTok ban that could take place in the US. Reports have emerged that Chinese officials are evaluating a potential option that involves Elon Musk acquiring the US operations of TikTok if the company fails to fend off a controversial ban on the short video app. But that's what reports seem to indicate. Beijing officials strongly prefer that TikTok remains under the ownership of parent ByteDance, and the company is contesting the impending ban with an appeal to the US Supreme Court. But in the event, however, TikTok has denied reports of a possible sale to the Tesla chief, calling it pure fiction. Supreme Court justices are due to rule on a law that set a 19 January deadline for TikTok to either sell its US operations or face a ban in the country. Now, how will this change? How will this change the tech landscape in the US? What happens to Elon Musk? Is he in favor of taking? Remember, he took X, and now will he now take TikTok? And what will that mean for the billionaire's ambitions as far as social media are concerned? Let's get in Jaspreet Bindra, who's the founder of Tech Whisperer, joining me from the UK. Good to have you, Jaspreet, on the show. And talk to us about the impact, if at all, Elon Musk goes ahead and buys TikTok in the US.
Thanks, Gaurie. Good to be here.
If it was not Elon Musk, I think everyone would have believed the pure fiction part of it. But Musk has a way of coming in and surprising all of us. So maybe all of this is true, though at this point of time, I do think that there's a lot of speculation happening more than fact. If it does happen, however, two or three things. One is the fact that I think Musk, if he takes this, will combine X and TikTok to create a super big, super powerful social media platform. I think TikTok in the US is bigger than X. It's valued at about $45-50 billion today, which is a little more than what X was. And so it makes something really, very big. Two, however, the uncertainty behind all of this is that the secret sauce of TikTok is not the content. The secret sauce of TikTok is the algorithm powering it. And this algorithm is clearly ByteDance's property. And so even if it takes TikTok, will the algorithm come with it? Or will the algorithm still stay with ByteDance and with China? So we don't know how that will play out. And I don't think anyone will want to pay that kind of money without that algorithm. And China and ByteDance are not going to part with that algorithm. Three and final is that one is not sure, even if Musk wants TikTok, what he wants it for. Does he want to, expand his personal megaphone for both, social and political reasons? Or is he really looking for a profit motive? In X, it's pretty clear now that it wasn't really the revenue or the profit motive as much as leveraging it to, for his own political and messaging end. So I think those are the three things that would be quite interesting to look at in this whole Musk TikTok story.
Absolutely. And Jasprit, to think from Elon Musk's point of view, the value proposition of an X or of a TikTok is just that it allows him to be able to pursue his quasi-political ambitions that, of course, feed into his business interests. Having said that, where do you see TikTok's options in the event that it doesn't have a favorable verdict from the US Supreme Court?
Well, we sometimes forget that we used to have TikTok in India and it was super, super popular, right? And one day it went away. And sure, there was some angst over it and, a bit of a hue and cry over it, but we adjusted, we continue to live with it. And it's not just because we are in India. India is a great example for social networks because it's actually number one or number two in almost every social network out there. And so if a country like India can do without a social media going away, a social media network, then I guess in the US, it's also people will live with it. From a ByteDance viewpoint, I think the options are tricky because they would want to continue having TikTok in the US. It's a huge revenue market. But then, what do they do with the algorithm? And as I said before, the secret sauce of TikTok is the algorithm, not the content. And how do they manage to kind of keep the algorithm within the Chinese TikTok walls, Chinese ByteDance walls, if it may, but yet use that for the US without both the governments getting antsy about it? I think that is the key question. And if they cannot solve for that, then I don't see any other possibility except TikTok shutting down in the US. All right, we leave it there. Jasprit, I appreciate you taking out the time to really decode what could be a very big story in the technology landscape in the US. Okay, shifting focus now with less than a week to go for US President-elect Donald Trump to enter the White House, with Foreign Minister Dr. Jaishankar set to attend his swearing-in ceremony. Uncertainty looms around the impact of his return on India and whether the Modi-Trump bonhomie will shield New Delhi when it comes to impending tariffs and the impact of sanctions that have been imposed on Russian oil and a lot more. This report decodes all that for you. Take a look.
Trump has left the building. Over. We can now project the winner of the presidential race. Donald Trump wins the presidency. What started off as unlikely, impossible, is now reality.
The who's who of world politics are expected to descend on Washington when Donald Trump is sworn in as the 47th President of the United States.
America great again.
Sticking to his brand of politics, Trump has broken another tradition by inviting many head of states to the January 20th event.
And I will never, ever let you down.
Some of the biggest names to be invited include Chinese President Xi Jinping, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, Argentina's President Javier Milei, and El Salvador's Nayib Bukele. So far, it isn't clear whether Prime Minister Narendra Modi would be attending the inauguration, as External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar looks set to represent India. India would be watching closely as Trump ascends to arguably the most powerful position in the world. There are a few worrisome issues as far as the bilateral ties are concerned. The biggest one seems to be Trump's frequent threats of a tariff wall on Indian imports to the US.
We will not fail.
According to a report by Boston Consulting Group, if the incoming administration goes ahead with the proposed tariff hikes, it would result in an additional duty burden of $14.6 billion on India's exports to the US. All eyes are also on the recent sweeping and aggressive sanctions imposed by the US on Russia's oil trade. According to reports, Indian refiners are seeking alternative fuel supplies as they adapt to severe new US sanctions on Russian producers. What Trump administration does with these strict measures remains to be seen. It is too soon to speculate how Trump's behavior towards India would be when he takes the center stage. Outgoing US Ambassador to India, Eric Garcetti, has said that direct conversations between Trump and Prime Minister Modi will define the next chapter of the India-US ties and not an invitation to a crowded swearing-in ceremony. Vishal Vivek reports for NDTV World.
All right, we slip into a short break. We come back on the other side with more stories. Stay with us.
Health isn't someday in the future. It's now. It's same-day GP appointments. Physio without GP referrals. Cancer testing, scans, and diagnosis fast. Questions for an expert at any hour about anything. Routine dental checkups every year for brighter smiles. Support that lasts for as long as it takes. Feeling your best every day starts today. Call or go online now for your quote.
Our first year as a family flew by. And now, I want to make sure he'll be financially protected for all his birthdays to come. That's why I'm calling Smart Insurance.
Hi, how can I help?
Hi, I'd like a quick quote for family life insurance.
OK, you can choose a benefit amount up to £750,000 depending on your age.
That's great.
If you're a UK resident aged 18 to 64, you can apply with just a few health and lifestyle questions. For £250,000 of cover, the price starts at just £14.77 a month.
That's less than I thought. And could help my wife pay off the mortgage.
And with our Smart Family Guarantee, you'll have peace of mind.
That's good to know.
You'll also receive a 100% advance in the event of terminal illness and 10% cashback on your first year's premiums. That's the Smart Cashback. Plus, you get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Protect the life you've built the smart way. To get a free quote today, call our specialist UK team on 0808 141 5855 or visit smartinsurance.co.uk.
Sticking to your resolutions is hard, but at Tesco Mobile, our deals always keep their word. Get a 60-gig SIM for just £13 a month with Club Card prices, plus £20 worth of Club Card points. Better still, that price is frozen for 2 years. That's a resolution you can rely on. It pays to be connected. Search Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Now I'm retired, I can spend more time with my grandson. I'm proud of him and want to help any way I can. Which reminds me.
Welcome to British Seniors, the UK's #1 rated provider of over 50s life insurance.
Hi, I'd like a quick quote.
No problem. We're proud to offer our seniors lifetime guarantee. With 100% of claims having been paid, we guarantee your premiums will never go up and that you'll speak to one of our specialists in the UK.
Well, that's good to know.
UK residents aged 50 to 80 are guaranteed to be accepted. Depending on your age, your loved ones can get a cash payout up to £10,000.
And that money can help with my funeral costs or even be used as a gift. I'll do it.
Plus, when you sign up, you'll receive a £135 gift card and free 24/7 GP advice and health services.
Thanks, Mum, for everything.
Be proud to protect your loved ones with British Seniors. To get a free quote today, call our UK team on 0800 158 552 or visit britishseniors.co.uk.
Those kind of roles, I mean, how...
This is India Global. We now turn our attention to fresh trouble that's brewing for UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer as pressure mounts on him to sack his anti-corruption minister Tulip Siddiq. Why? Well, she is the niece of ousted Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. This comes after Bangladesh Chief Advisor Mohammad Yunus condemned her use of properties gifted to her and her family by the Awami League government and called for a probe into Siddiqi's links to Hasina's regime. Following this, calls for Siddiqi's resignations have grown in the UK, with Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch saying it's time for Keir Starmer to sack Tulip and accusing Starmer of appointing his personal friend as anti-corruption minister, even as she has accused herself of corruption. Now, where does this go? Will this only amplify the entire narrative when it comes to Awami League? Will this have repercussions for India? Will this have repercussions for the India-UK relationship? Let's decode all of that, and let's get in Naresh Kaushik, who's a senior journalist, joining me from the UK. And we also have Mohammad Kamaruzan, who's a senior journalist, joining me from Dhaka. All right, Mr. Kaushik, let me start with you, sir. How do you see the clamour that's growing for Tulip's resignation, but the larger impact of this that could have the fallout, whether it is for the UK-Bangladesh relationship and the India-Bangladesh relationship as well?
Thanks for inviting me, Gaurie, for your program. This is actually quite an important issue for UK politics at the moment, and it has come when Keir Starmer is already facing a lot of problems. He could have actually avoided this issue, having already been accused of not doing enough when he was Director of Public Prosecutions, when gangs of Pakistani origin were raping young white girls. And then the economy is not doing well in the UK, and his finance minister is being held responsible for that. So now this Tulip Siddiqi's case, who is actually, ironically, she's in charge of a department which deals with corruption. So she is basically anti-corruption minister, and she's being accused of corruption herself because of her links with her aunt in Bangladesh. So she's facing three main allegations. One is that she has used in UK a number of properties which are linked to her aunt's close aides. And then she's also accused of being involved in a deal which she's accused of brokering with Russia, about $5 billion deal to build nuclear power plant in Bangladesh. And there are allegations that she took some kickbacks in that. And also she's accused of influencing her aunt as a UK politician to have some properties in Bangladesh, particularly one plot of land in the diplomatic enclave in Dhaka. Now, Tulip Siddiq has denied these allegations. She's calling it a political witch hunt. She has also referred herself to UK's ethics committee voluntarily, and she's saying that she'll stand by whatever is the outcome. But, this has become a big political issue. As you said, opposition is demanding her sacking.
Mohammad Kamaruzan, let me ask you this, that how will this impact the UK-Bangladesh relationship? And do you see having that a spillover on the India-Bangladesh relationship as well?
Thank you very much. Actually, this is a matter of great concern for Bangladesh, because you know that Bangladesh now going through a financial crisis also, and against Sheikh Hasina and most of the ministers and high officials of her regime were accused of corruption and money laundering, and there are so many reports about it. And Tulip Siddiq, who was very close to Sheikh Hasina, and whenever Sheikh Hasina visited UK, there were also some parts of meeting Sheikh Hasina and Tulip Siddiq, and Tulip Siddiq visited Bangladesh. So there is family relations first family relations. So there is no reason that Sheikh Hasina was not influenced by her. So this is the perception here in Bangladesh. Actually, there are also some allegations from Bangladesh that most of the children of Sheikh Hasina or Sheikh Mujib family who claim themselves as the main leaders, historic leader in independence movement in Bangladesh during 1971, but their children are settled different countries. But the image of Tulip Siddiq was totally different because she gained a very high position in UK politics, and she was the anti-corruption minister. So this was a very positive side of Awami League here. Or
no, my question is, if Starmer says he's not going to sack her, then what impact does that have on the Bangladesh-UK relationship?
Of course, Bangladesh now will demand UK, or the process has already been started, that these allegations should be investigated by the UK government properly, and the money that has been laundered by Sheikh family with the help of Tulip Siddiq, that should be returned to Bangladesh. This will be a very high demand of the Bangladesh government. But how the UK government will respond to this, it will be a matter of that will rely on the relationship between Bangladesh and UK. And at the same time, you know that ex-Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina is already in India, and centering this issue already, there is tensions between India and Bangladesh. So this matter should be solved in a very clean way.
Mr. Kaushik, let me ask you the same question. Assuming that Keir Starmer says that he's not going to sack Tulip Siddiq, how do you see that playing out in terms of political relationship between the two sides?
Well, first of all, he has said that at the moment he has full confidence in Tulip Siddiq. But if she's found of breaking any rules in the UK, her position will be untenable. And I don't think Keir Starmer will be able to keep her. But another important question which we need to understand is this is another case of subcontinent's politics affecting Britain. Because as you know, Bangladeshi community is very powerful politically. There are some constituencies where Bangladeshi vote is very important. And Tulip Siddiq represents a constituency where also Bangladeshi votes are very important. So it's very difficult for them to, for the government to basically not take any action against that. But at the same time, you know, the people who are critical of Sheikh Hasina here as well, they are also clamoring for her scalp. So they are saying that, look, this is a good opportunity for them, you know, to show that, you know, Sheikh Hasina has been influencing not only politics and corruption in Bangladesh, but also she has her wings outside the country, and Britain is one of the countries. So this is actually also a case of, you know, political drama being played out here.
Indeed, it is. And final word as we wrap this discussion very quickly to both of you, which is that, let me start with the guest from Dhaka, Mr. Mohammed, that do you think there is this obsession with focusing on Sheikh Hasina, Sheikh Hasina's family, rather than repairing Bangladesh? That's what the whole focus should be on.
No, actually, that's not. During the 17-year-long regime, so Sheikh Hasina has influenced everywhere. So the image of Sheikh Hasina or trial of Sheikh Hasina or her family or corruption is also very much important for whole Bangladesh. So Bangladeshi people are eagerly waiting to see a fair consequence of all the allegations of corruptions and other human rights violations. And Tulip Siddiq or Sheikh Hasina, both matters now dealing by UK and India should be resolved in a very amicable way and in a very transparent way. This is the expectation of the people of Bangladesh. And this is also a matter in relationship between Bangladesh, India and Bangladesh, UK. Yes.
Okay, let me quickly put that to Mr. Kaushik as well. I'm running out of time, sir, but quickly.
Yes, basically what is happening is this is Bangladesh's new government is after Sheikh Hasina and her family and her aides. There is no doubt about that. But at the same time, you can't really ignore serious allegations of corruption. So they have to take action. So building Bangladesh will come after addressing these allegations.
All right, leave it there, both of you. Really appreciate both of you for joining me on this edition of India Global. As far as the Bangladesh issue is concerned, all I can say is that the obsession should be to repair Bangladesh, build Bangladesh, rather than be consumed with vengeance and retribution. All right, turning focus now to External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, who has met his Spanish counterpart, Jose Manuel Alvarez, and called for greater cooperation between India and Spain to broaden the relationship between India and the European Union. Dr. Jaishankar called for Spain to help India's Make in India endeavor, and he's also said that both the countries are intensifying their defense cooperation. That's not all. The External Affairs Minister further said that they have agreed to make 2026 a year of artificial intelligence, culture, tourism, aimed at improving people-to-people relationship between India and Spain. Listen in.
There are already, I believe, 230 Spanish companies with a presence in India, and we would welcome more of them to join us in Make in India, Design in India, collaborate with India. I'm very confident that strong India-Spain relations and a strong India-EU collaboration can be a stabilizing factor in a turbulent world, and I certainly hope that my conversations with you and with your leadership would help advance that process. Thank you very much.
Peruvian President Dina Boluarte is at the center of a growing storm of controversy after appearing before prosecutors to explain her 2-week absence in July 2023, during which she underwent what she claims was a medical nose surgery. So she insists the procedure was necessary to address breathing issues, but critics argue it was actually a convenient excuse to step away from her duties without appointing a caretaker president, a move that has sparked calls for her resignation. During her absence, the Peruvian president failed to inform the public or delegate her powers to Congress as is required by law, leading to accusations of abandoning of duty. Her team, however, insists she continued fulfilling her responsibilities remotely while recovering from rhinoplasty. But the controversy doesn't end there. She's also underwent under investigation for allegedly accepting bribes in the form of Rolex watches and jewelry. On top of that, she faces mounting pressure over the deaths of more than 50 protesters during a violent crackdown on demonstrations against her leadership in 2022. The Peruvian president has denied all these allegations except for the fact that she did get a nose job done. As Los Angeles continues to grapple with the devastating wildfires, a bright pink powder blanketing rooftops, vehicles and streets has become a familiar sight. Authorities have confirmed that thousands of gallons of this powder have been used in the past week to prevent the flames from spreading further. The substance is phosgene, a fire retardant widely used across the U.S. since the 1960s and the most commonly used fire suppressant in the world. Aircraft battling the raging wildfire in Los Angeles are not just dropping water. They've released hundreds of thousands of gallons of hot pink fire retardant ahead of the flames in a desperate bid to prevent them from destroying more neighborhoods going forward. All right, turning our attention to the Maha Kumbh festival, where millions of Hindu devotees and mystics have gathered in the northern Indian city of Prayagraj for the Maha Kumbh festival, which is the largest religious congregation on earth. 400 million people, more than the population of the United States, are expected to participate in the festival over the next 45 days for a series of ritual baths at the confluence of the Ganges, the Yamuna and the Saraswati. The Dwivedi is where the world and the Hindus are seeking moksha. All right, with that, it's a wrap with this edition of India Global. Thanks so much for watching.
OK, We know this isn't your dog. If this were your dog, he'd want you to know he was upset with you last night when you were watching TV at full volume. You didn't hear him whining, and he was devastated. All he wanted was tummy rubs and for you to get a hearing test. Book a free test today at bootshearingcare.com. And now that you can hear him, he's one happy pup.
If you won't do it for you, do it for them. You could have better hearing in just a week. Boots, with you for life.
I'm a simple man, but now I'm in my 50s, things are getting a little more complicated. Retirement's peeking around the corner, and I wanted to make sure my family would be really looked after if anything happened to me. That's why I decided to learn more about over 50s life insurance from Cover Today. They're the only over 50s life insurer with no waiting period. Unlike other insurers who could make you wait up to 2 years, with Cover Today, you're fully covered from day one. And you're covered for the whole of your life. Plus, unlike other things in life, the price never goes up. Learning more can be simpler. Go online or talk to their friendly UK team in just one phone call.
Cover Today are the only over 50s life insurer with no waiting period and no annoying trips to the doctors either.
Now I'm with Cover Today, I can get on with something much more interesting.
Plus, you get your choice of a £125 gift card. To find out more about Cover Today, call our friendly UK team on 0808 143 4774 or visit covertoday.co.uk.
Morning looms. The night still weighs heavy, but with the finest aromas of Nescafe Original captured during roasting and grinding for our unique aroma and taste. We drag ourselves from dream to dare, and the dare is ours. For the making. Now win a £30,000 salary plus instant cash prizes. Enter now.
This is an important message for people living with diabetes from people living with diabetes.
When I was experiencing the symptoms of diabetes, I didn't know what was going on.
You go on the internet and it's full of horror stories.
I didn't understand about carbs, I didn't understand about blood glucose levels.
That's why the support I get as a Diabetes UK member is so important.
You can become a Diabetes UK member for just £3 a month. When you do, you'll receive a practical guide specific to your type of diabetes and a copy of Balance magazine 4 times a year. Plus, you'll help support research that could lead to better treatments for all types of diabetes.
As members, we're all working it out together.
Call 0800 144 5410 or go online to become a Diabetes UK member for just £3 a month. Join us now because membership can help you learn to live better with diabetes.
I urgently need to ask for your help on behalf of animals at risk right now. With the pandemic came a surge in pet ownership. And sadly, we're now seeing a serious rise in neglect, cruelty and abuse. Our services are being stretched to the limit. To make matters worse, our costs are soaring too. But we refuse to let animals suffer. So please, act now to help rescue the growing number of animals who've never needed us more. Please call or text the number on screen now to give £2 a month to the RSPCA. In one of the toughest times we have ever experienced, your gift will make all the difference to animals. You could help provide more life-saving treatment, food, shelter, and the loving care that many have never known. We know there are millions of you who, like us, care deeply and won't stand by while animals are suffering. We have to reach those trapped in a life of abuse and neglect before it's too late. Because for many, the RSPCA is their only hope. But we can only come to the rescue with the support of people like you. So please, will you help us be there no matter what? Call 0800 313 4392 or text RSPCA to 78866 to start your monthly gift today. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to the Southern View. We wish you all a very, very happy Makar Sankranti and Pongal in the south, Bihu and Lohri, and a lovely harvest season across the country. Let's start the show with these beautiful images of the festive day from across the country. lovely images from across the country. But now to the news this evening. Let's take you through the headlines that we're tracking. Social media giant Meta is set to get a summons from a parliamentary standing committee over Mark Zuckerberg's remark on the 2024 Indian general election results. He had said that the incumbent government had lost the elections. Will the BCCI impose stricter rules for players after the poor performance in Australia? Sources tell NDTV that the BCCI may be considering disallowing wives and families from accompanying players during long foreign tours. Despite safety measures, one person's killed at the traditional Jallikattu in Madurai's Avaniyapuram. The bigger bull taming events are to be held tomorrow at Palamedu and the day after at Alanganallur Jallikattu. Well, first up this evening, one person's been reported dead and some injured, according to the latest reports that's coming in from the traditional Jallikattu events in Tamil Nadu, which began with the first one in Madurai's Avaniyapuram area today. Remember, this happened earlier in the day. The loss of life could not be averted despite safety precautions at the event, which had over 1,100 bulls and 800 bull tamers entering that brutal but intensely emotive traditional contest. While there have been emotive arguments for and against the Jallikattu, it's an important event in Tamil Nadu's Pongal celebrations. While the event at Madurai's Avaniyapuram is the first one of the block, the bigger and the more celebrated ones are at Palamedu, which is tomorrow, and Alanganallur, which is the big one that's to be held day after tomorrow. Remember, in Tamil Nadu, tomorrow is Mattu Pongal, or the day to celebrate cattle in the state as part of the festivities. Of course, Pongal celebrations each year marked by Jallikattu events in and around Madurai and in southern Tamil Nadu. Hugely attended events with enormous emotive connect to the population there. Joining me now is NDTV's Sam Daniels. Sam, take us through what precautions were taken, what the incidents were at Avaniyapuram, and what this shows for the bigger events tomorrow and day after.
As far as the Avaniyapuram Jallikattu that began today is concerned, one person has been gored to death by a bull. He was rushed to the hospital, put in the ICU, but he could not be saved. We understand another person also is in the ICU, and at least 15 other spectators and bull tamers have suffered injuries, but they are out of danger. In terms of the arrangements, authorities say, as given by the Supreme Court, double barricading is in place to make sure the bulls do not target the spectators. They're also, unlike a decade ago, now they release the bull tamers in batches of 20 at 25 together, not as more than 100 together at a time. This way they make sure they're not exposed to danger. But when bulls decide to charge these bull tamers, nothing can be done. And this is another example of that kind of a tragedy, or a possibility for that kind of a tragedy. And the government will announce a compensation soon. And as directed by the court, every such organizers of this Jallikattu event ought to deposit or go for a bulk insurance to take care of the family compensation in case of loss of lives or maimed. So far, several hundred people have been killed and maimed, but over the last few years, that kind of a high number is not witnessed. But since still, Jallikattu continues to be a risky thing. And today is the beginning. Tomorrow, as you said, it will be at Palamedu in Madurai rural area. And the day after would be the grand finale, Kanum Pongal, and the bigger Jallikattu at the Alanganallur arena would be on that day. And it's been an argument between animal rights activists in terms of the cruelty these animals are subjected to, in terms of torture, in terms of intoxication, in terms of several forms of violence. But again, authorities say these have come down drastically now that a team of doctors A team of officials screen every bull that is brought in, and they are scrutinized to make sure they are not intoxicated. And bull tamers too have come under a close watch to make sure not many of them would cling on a bull's hump together, or incidents like pulling their tail or squeezing lemon into the eyes have been drastically come down. But lastly, this is still a season of trauma and torture for these bulls, as they will be now taken to different parts of the state for Jallikattu events, which have become a huge money spinner, going beyond the ancient traditional significance attached to it.
Right. Right, Sam Daniel, obviously you've covered many of those events. We'll keep a close watch of both the spectacular pictures that come from those traditional events as well as the strong arguments for and against them. But now to our special focus this evening. Sharp reactions from the states of Tamil Nadu and Karnataka to their share in the centre's tax devolution of 1,73,030 crores that was announced a few days ago. While the confrontation over allocation between the states and the centre has been a simmering issue and a long pending grouse of states like Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, Chief Minister Siddaramaiah and Tamil Nadu Finance Minister Thangam Thennarasu have slammed the allocation. In a statement, Siddaramaiah accused the NDA government of betrayal to Karnataka and said that there was a shocking drop from previous installments. Tamil Nadu's Finance Minister, as I mentioned, Thangam Thennarasu, in a post on X, also argued that the allocation from the five southern states was only 15%, but Bihar, UP and Madhya Pradesh had been given 40%. He asks if this is cooperative federalism or centralized discrimination. Remember, this is an ongoing argument between the states and the centre. So is this just a political demand by opposition rule states, or is there a serious argument that one needs to consider? Joining me this evening, Guru Prakash Paswan of the Bharatiya Janata Party, Salem Dharanidharan of the DMK, pro-Congress political observer Syed Asad Abbas, and pro-BJP political observer Anurag Naidu. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Happy festivities to all of you. My first question to you, Guru Prakash Paswan, the insinuation from the centre, from the states like Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, is that they are taking the unfair burden for states like UP, Bihar and Madhya Pradesh. Is this discrimination as asked by the DMK's and Tamil Nadu's Finance Minister?
No, Veer, we have to understand that there are constitutional mechanisms, revenue sharing practices and financial data available to counter this claim. This is nothing but baseless, illogical and has no semblance to any reality. We have to understand that the pre-2014 mechanism of planning commission is what the Congress party is used to when it comes to fiscal federalism. When Bharatiya Janata Party came to power, we ensured that, because the now Prime Minister and the then Chief Minister of Gujarat has spoken about it on multiple occasions. If you look at the recommendations of the 14th Finance Commission, the devolution to state from 32% it became 42%. So for the Bharatiya Janata Party, for the NDA government and especially for Prime Minister Modi, he has been emphasizing on this fact that it is about Team India. It is about the collective leadership. And I have the data in front of me. They speak of discrimination. In the year 2020-21, Tamil Nadu received 12,629 crore as GST compensation. Karnataka received 19,000 crore. Kerala received 8,000 crore despite having a small economy. Point number one. Point number two, the GST, if you look at the Constitution, Article 279, subclause A, it categorically talks about that all states, listen to this very carefully, all states, irrespective of their economic strength, are given equal representation in terms of decision making. So there is absolutely no question of discrimination. And also, just a thought I want to share with my friends from the DMK and my friend from the Congress party, Maharashtra is equally productive. Gujarat is equally productive. Maharashtra has been contributing to the 15% of the national tax share, but we never hear arguments like this from Maharashtra. There is a Bharatiya Janata Party government in Maharashtra. There is a Bharatiya Janata Party government in Gujarat. But why this sense? And Congress party finance minister only last year said that we are contributing so much and it gives us a separate right. Why do you expect such level of entitlement? And this is something which is unacceptable. What is being done now, it is perfectly in sync with the constitutional principles, with the Finance Commission recommendation and the structure of fiscal federalism. So there is no point in creating this havoc. There is no point in creating, and every time, every month, 2 months, 3 months, you would see a similar set of argument from a DMK spokesperson